before the waterfall of blue rock, a crooked man, his clenched red face and navel, deals a round of postcards to the tourists who ring him like cows around a night fire, mouths opening to small animal noises which perish terribly in the wind. The cliffs are, finally, everything you wish them to be. An absence of corners, a glut of gods, the raw bone of stone, a flash of white seabird. It's all done with mirrors. Nothing can be as permanent as the claims of this day.
The Cliffs of Moher are a stunning representation of natural beauty, located on the west coast of Ireland in the Burren, which is a landscape area defined by its rich culture, biodiversity, and rocky landscape. This protected area draws millions of visitors each year.
Though the cliffs may seem very wild and natural, the cliffs have actually been part of Ireland's culture and history for thousands of years. This area became a fort called Hag's Head in the 1st century BC, giving the cliffs their name Moher or Moher, which means ruined fort in ancient Gaelic.
This area was locally owned for pasture or wildlife until Cornelius O'Brien bought it and began moving towards a touristic approach for all to enjoy. As a wealthy landowner, Cornelius O'Brien bought the entire Cliffs of Moher area of about 12,000 acres, including the 8 miles of actual cliffs. This included castles, towers, and much natural land that he rented and brought tourists to, creating a season for health and healing before the London season began.
Cornelius O'Brien continued this touristic approach until the potato famine came in Ireland in the mid-1800s, bringing starvation to millions. Tourism picked up again afterwards in the 1960s through 90s and had high increases of revenue for the park. The cliffs became well known again and displayed the cultural significance to the people of Ireland.
In around 2010, after the Natura 2000, the Cliffs of Moher became a special protected area for the 7 vulnerable bird species who live there. This was highly supported by the public because it preserved a culturally and environmentally significant place, full of history and life. Today, most parts of the cliffs are still locally owned except the roughly 800-meter section owned by Clare County. Yet, all 8 miles of cliff are protected, public or private.
So it's a massive thing. And it's all because of 7 species of birds. So we have the rarest ones we have are peregrine falcons, which are quite common in America. You get them on all your tall buildings. We have a nesting pair here, the fastest living thing on the planet.
Yeah.
We have choughs. They're a crow with a red beak and red feet. So they look like somebody's dipped them in paint. And there's between 2 and 14 of them. We have to monitor. Yeah. So these, like, you know, we're talking very small specialized numbers of birds. Then we come to the sort of the ones that everyone likes, the auks, the puffins. We've got about 5,000 puffins and their cousins, the guillemots. We've got about 20,000 of them. We've got razorbills. We've got probably 5,000 or 6,000 of those. We have fulmars. They're North Atlantic fulmar, Fulmar, and they're a very small albatross. We also have kittiwakes, which look like a gull, but they're not. And they say kittiwake, kittiwake, kittiwake. That's the noise they make. The unique geology lets you see all 3 species of auks in one place. That's unusual.
As is sadly true with almost any protected area, there are a lot of threats to the Cliffs of Moher, and here are the 3 main ones that we identified.
An example of these is weather. So weather is a threat to the park through the safety of the people and erosion of the cliffs. It is managed through examples like red wind warnings, where people are not allowed to be on the cliffs because of 100-mile-per-hour debris. They have the same procedure with heavy rainfall and really any dangerous weather patterns, because the Cliffs of Moher have such incredibly unpredictable weather.
Though the IUCN category isn't directly reported, we believe it would be Category 3. This designation denotes the specific protection of one geological feature, specifically for its uniqueness. The avian diversity that it's designated for exists because of the cliff's features for breeding, nesting, and wintering. This falls under the Category 3 nature conservation definition.
Erosion is a part of life when it comes to the cliffs, because slowly but surely the shale at the edge of the cliffs is being chipped away by wind and rain. This poses a threat to the longevity of the park, as one day the cliff's edge will be smooth and backed up to the shale wall itself, and the walking trail will have to retreat further into safety. This also means limited habitats for the protected birds that are on this area.
Disease is another big threat. Diseases can be carried into the park and wreak havoc on existing species. For example, in 2022, the UK was hit hard by a round of bird flu that killed thousands of birds. In 2023, some of the cliff's native species, like the guillemots and kittiwakes, were hit hard by disease. This is especially devastating because most seabirds only rear 1 or 2 chicks a year, and it takes them a long time to reach breeding age.
Our direct threat to the Cliffs of Moher is land pollution, as there are about 1.5 million visitors per year. A lot of trash is left behind, which directly affects the birds and the environment. These small bits of plastic and other materials can be mistaken for food or nesting material, which is detrimental for the birds.
This leads to the indirect threat of unsustainable tourism. Tourism occurs inside and also outside of the Cliffs of Moher Park area, as there are many other communities and natural areas nearby.
One of the underlying causes to land pollution is lack of education around sustainable tourism. Many people don't think that littering tiny pieces of trash will actually make a difference and affect the ecosystem as a whole.
Another aspect or underlying cause is the idea that values and attitudes are incompatible with conservation goals. Global consumer culture and mass tourism goals are generally focused on seeing as much as you can in as little time as your budget and flight plan will allow. This come-and-go ethos is in direct competition with the conservation longevity goals of the Cliffs of Moher, whose management strives to continue its legacy and protect its natural beauty for generations to come. Tourists who just want to see the sights cannot possibly understand the long-lasting impacts of their actions and the importance of the site to those who live and work there every day of the year.
Throughout history, especially in the last 200 years, the Cliffs of Moher have been a very touristy area. But with the invention of non-degradable materials such as plastic and the mass numbers of people coming to the park within the last 50 years, land pollution has become a much more prevalent threat that needs to be dealt with.
So luckily, the Cliffs of Moher have many strategies to manage land pollution and preserve the natural environment and safe haven that they provide for the birds and other life forms. Litter picking is a huge part of what employees at the Cliffs do, and this strongly decreases the amount of trash on the ground and in the area. Additionally, no littering signs are made with symbols and pictures instead of language to ensure that people from all backgrounds, countries, and languages can understand them. Thirdly, staff completes Leave No Trace training and demonstrates this knowledge to visitors.
The Cliffs of Moher also have several established management principles that are used to keep people and the environment safe. The first is immediate and decisive intervention to deal with some of the threats that may save significant future costs.
Finally, these strategies have been effective. The liter amount has been reduced from 68 grams to 60 grams of liters per visitor. EIA is required and performed under EU law. This is a legislative strategy to combat the threat. The number of visitors inside the park are limited to prevent overuse, and this and many other examples are part of the management tool, Sustainable Use Limits.
Our second management principle states that community effort helps to achieve diminished threats for positive conservation outcomes for the landscape. The cliffs are owned by 37 local farmers across the 8-mile expanse, but the management falls to the Clare Local Department Company. They in turn are constantly in conversation with the Fealty Ireland and the Clare County Council. All of these organizations hold significant stake in the Cliffs of Moher and strive to keep the ecosystem thriving alongside and with tourism.
The third management principle includes a systematic assessment of human-caused threats that may aid management. Threat analysis is constantly being done, especially when it comes to development. Management restricts the usage of jackhammers and heavy machinery operating during nesting season, which could negatively affect the birds. They also have done drone regulations, intentional spreading out of visitation, and changing waste management to reduce water usage, determining how best to protect the land and sea.
The Cliffs of Moher represent Ireland's rich history and natural beauty, where everyone is welcome to come and have an experience of a lifetime.
The cliffs and the experience and the tourism that it brings kind of gives a national touchstone to Irish people, and I think that's really beautiful.
The Cliffs of Moher represent a different meaning for everyone who visits and those who admire from afar. Either way, it deserves our respect and admiration.